Hey, what's up guys? Kane here with XBLA fans. I'm doing a little bit of a different video for you guys today. I just played a game and I felt really dirty at the end of it, and I think you'll see why. And what I wanted to talk about today is something that I saw being talked about a bunch on Reddit, and that's the issue of should people be allowed to surrender, and does there need to be more of a penalty, and are there any issues currently with how Metalhead is handling it. And I'll talk about the issues part at the end of this video, but I'm just going to tell you now that my stance on this is that this is not a team game. This is not League of Legends. This is not, you know, something similar where if you leave, you're hurting the other 4 people on your team and they're instantly losing rank and whatnot. At the end of the day, the goal of this game is to get as many good quality matches in as humanly possible. And the way that happens is by using a rating system, and that's what the rating system and the rank should be doing, is it should be trying to help Metalhead promote, you know, quality matchmaking and try to find people of equal skill. Obviously, that's not something that can always happen. You're not always going to find a perfectly good match, and sometimes you're going to get stuck in one where 2 players are clearly mismatched. And I don't even think I play this one, you know, very cleanly. But at the end of the day, that's what kind of happened here, is that I matched against someone who I'm pretty sure is brand new to the game. I checked his profile later, has not played a ton, and it's one of those things where it's like, this was clearly not a fair match. Like, this is embarrassing, and I feel kind of bad for it, because I'm not trying to use this example to make fun of this guy. It's just, there's clearly a skill gap here, and this is not fun for either of us by any means. Like, I'm going to continue to destroy him. If this game were to go to 5 innings without a run roll rule, I would eventually have an insanely high score. Thankfully there is a run rule, but even then, that may not matter at the end of the day. You know, like, it may not be worth his time to sit here and just continue to get destroyed. And yeah, you could theoretically learn from your mistakes here. But this is one of those situations where if you don't even know the basics, you're going to have a hard time learning from them. I honestly didn't even need to steal home because this one goes out of the park. Which is just kind of ironic. I felt really bad because that was like the pure salt on the wound moment. Like, stealing home is like stabbing the guy repeatedly. Hitting it out on the next ball is literally like salt everywhere. And I felt so bad about that one. But, I mean, that's kind of what... Not only that... Okay, no, it wasn't the pitcher. Thank God. For a second, I thought it was the pitcher, and I was about to be like, yeah, that's not cool. But, what I wanted to just say is that, yeah, like, at the end of the day, I want quality matches just as much as everybody else. I want to play people that are close to equal skill, and at the end of the game, I like looking up and seeing that the score is 3-5, or 5-4, or, you know, something close. I like seeing, you know, 2-1 games. I don't like seeing 9-0. I mean, to be honest, you won't see it this time, but the next inning I pitched this guy, I just started throwing fastballs straight down the middle. Just trying to give him a chance to hit the ball. Because I was just like, once I realized that there was just that big of a skill gap that he couldn't even catch a fastball straight down the middle, I knew the game was over. And at that point, it's just like, get us both out of here. Like, I don't want to play this. It's not fun for me to just sit here and wait to destroy someone. And at the end of the day, this is where I think there is a little bit of the issue with the game. Because if my ego is determinant on the amount of runs I score, and, you know, it's bouncing up and down periodically. I think I'm at like 78 or 79 right now. But it'll go up to about 84, and it will go down to about... I've been down all the way to, I think, 72 at one point. And that's when I was doing my cheese overdog strat that never actually worked. You never saw any videos for it because it never actually worked for me. I kept trying to peg the catcher in the head. And I was like, if I can injure him, they won't have anyone who can throw to second. Didn't end up working. Didn't end up making a video on it. It was kind of a joke. But as you'll notice, I'm playing as the platypus. I don't even know. Platypi, I think. This will be the team I'm going to play as for this pennant race. I'm going to grind out a bunch of games with them. You guys left me a lot of comments on who you wanted to see. I saw like this one, I think 3 or 4 times, and it felt like it would be a decent change up from what I just played as. One of their biggest weaknesses is bullpen, and I played as the grapplers last time. So I got used to basically relying on my bullpen, even from inning 2. So this is kind of forcing me to change up my playstyle, and I'm kind of excited about that. So I'm actually just kind of curious to see how this goes. This is what I meant. Like, I just started throwing meatball after meatball. And the moment you realize that somebody can't hit these, there's no way this game's ever going to get close. You know, the only reason I'm not destroying him is because I'm personally hitting poorly. You know, it's purely on me at that point. And I do think there is a slight issue with the fact that I'm going to probably gain more ratings points from this and more ego, despite the fact that I didn't do anything right. I mean, at the end of the day, this guy should not have been in my game. It's unfortunate for both of us that he was. And it's impossible. Don't get me wrong. It is absolutely impossible for Metalhead to completely block stuff like this. But maybe if people are starting brand new, they shouldn't be this high in ego. Even if they select I win at high ego. There might need to be a little bit more of a check and balance here. Because this guy should not be in my game. It's not fun for either of us. It gets pretty brutal. Like, I mean, I screwed this up or I would have scored again. That's what I mean. So, like, I'm going to end up destroying him and I'm going to go up and rank a good bit. It's going to bring my ego up for the next game. And, I mean, this one brought me back over 3,000. I don't feel like I earned that. I don't feel like I did anything right this game in particular. I just feel like it was a complete skill mismatch. Whereas there are games that I'll play that are super tight between, you know, very higher rated opponents where both of us are like, oh man, this is back and forth. You know, neither of us know which one's going to win. And one of us will go down at the end of that. And it's just like, that seems kind of dumb. You know, like, and both of our egos will end up going down because it'll be a 2-1 game that went to the 7th inning or something. You know, it seems like I think there's a goal to keep, you know, the games feeling interesting. And by that, I mean they don't want a bunch of 1-0 games where no one can hit. So they're trying to make sure you stay in an ego bracket where you can actually play. But the problem with that is it means that the good games are bringing you down and the bad games are sending you up, which seems completely backwards. Like, I really feel like I shouldn't be going up just from, you know, stuff like that. I ended up winning my pennant race this week. I think I was, I don't know, 36-12 or something. I probably just showed and I just can't remember. But we ended up winning it, and obviously I moved up to the 3,000s. And that felt really good. Unfortunately, we stayed in pro. We were just off the outside of moving up one more rank, which again feels a little weird that obviously they did their rank reset this week, so there's a lot of stuff that moved around. So I'm not exactly sure how anything worked with that. We're going to have to kind of see how things go. But I mentioned earlier I was going to talk about the negatives of surrendering. And this game right here is the ultimate negative of surrendering. And this is where I think Metalhead does need to fix something, because this felt horrible. So what I'm going to say here is, you know, obviously it was a little bit of a bummer to win my pennant race and not move up a division at all. Obviously, I think part of that is I was just at the cap for, you know, whatever would have moved me up to the next one, which unfortunately I think was very ego dependent, which means I was hitting at 80 ego, you know, last night, and then I lost a game, and then I moved down to 78. So it was like one of those, you know, like if I hadn't played that last game, I might have still been where I needed to be, but there was no way for me to check where my ego was before, you know, the thing ended. So like I didn't know enough to be like, okay, I need to play another one to move myself back to 80. Because obviously when I play right now, I play plus or minus. So I'll play plus or minus 3 as I put it. I bounce up and down a lot, but not anywhere. I don't ever drop too far anymore, and I don't ever go up too high, typically. Maybe I will if I actually stuck with a specific team play style and just kind of got used to it. But this right here is a perfect example of why surrendering or forfeits does need to be looked at. Because while I'm not a big fan of giving a massive punishment to someone who leaves early, I don't really think that's going to help the game long term, giving them a timeout, making them wait before starting another match. You know, stuff like you do in a team game that's highly focused on rank like League of Legends. Obviously, there's a lot of things you have to consider in that. This game is a little bit more on the casual side. I don't really think it's the next great esport personally, as much as, you know, like everyone wants every game to be like that. But I think we do have an awesome online multiplayer experience, and I think it can be fun while also being competitive. And that's the key thing. It needs to be both of those. It needs to feel fun, and it needs to be fair and competitive. And the way this felt to me, as someone who basically would have won a 2-0 game, but the guy decides to just rage quit before either run scores, feels pretty bad. Because at the end of the game, what happens is my rating went down, which is kind of dumb. So from my perspective, what I have to sit back and say is, okay, the way they have this coded, neither of those runs counted. So I won a 0-0 game, which a 0-0 game moves your skill ranking down, and therefore, you know, instead of getting credit for the fact that I would have scored 2 runs in the second inning, probably would have kept scoring on this guy because he wasn't very good. Instead of getting a massive blowout victory like I should have, I get a close victory that then lowers my rank. And that's not good. So I actually tweeted this one to one of the developers because I was just like, this feels really, really bad. And hopefully this isn't what's happening, you know, what I think happened. Hopefully it's just something funky with the fact they just redid their ranks. But this needs to be addressed because this is not healthy for the game long term. And this is something that's going to cause a lot of your top end players to get really annoyed if they start to figure out this is actually happening. It was more clear today because of the fact that I dropped dramatically, which hadn't happened in the past, which I have to assume is partially because they have your rating a little more closely tied to your ego. And I know that the ego seems to be tied to keeping games in a certain score range. So that seems to be what's going on, and that's my perspective on things. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback, and I hopefully will hear from, you know, Metalhead, and they'll address this stuff. Obviously, they're working a ton on this game, and I have to give them a ton of credit for all the stuff they're doing. This is just my perspective, and this is what happened to me. And hopefully things get addressed. But thank you guys so much, and later.